Hello, can you hear me?
Hey, yes, how you doing, Mr. Miller?
Good. Hey, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well, and yourself? How things going today?
Oh, they're going good. It's a nice day, actually. It's a beautiful day outside.
What's the temperature down there? Were you in Macon or Atlanta?
I'm in Macon. It's near 80 degrees.
Enjoy it. We're going through the end of winter up here in Cleveland. You know, it's overcast today, about 65. That's cool.
Yeah, someone was telling me it hasn't been 2 weeks ago that you guys had snow.
It was snowing, I think, around about 2 weeks ago. You know, we had one day all 4 seasons. It was snow on the ground. And I'm up here trying to grow me some tomatoes and watermelon and things. And I had to bring it all inside and everything. But I really appreciate you coming on a Hustle and Justice today. I was just telling my co-host, I'm always on Twitter. And I ran across something about you. And I said, let me reach out to this gentleman. But before I go on that, let me go break down some background about you. I'm reading your bio. You have an impressive bio. You're a professor. I got that right? You're an attorney for the last 10 years. You're a musician. You're a poet. What else? What else on there? You're a father.
Yeah, I'm a father. Yeah, so I mean, you pretty much covered everything. I'm in the ministry also.
And you in the ministry. What do you got time all day long? I mean, what do you do? I mean, you got a long history. You got a book on race relations. You got your new book out, the Dreamer. What's it called? Once again, The Story of a Dreamer.
Story of a Dreamer.
Story of a Dreamer. I like one of your poems right here. I'm reading. I don't bought the book. Hopefully one day you can sign it. So
thank you.
Oh yeah, that was a good $15, and we're gonna make sure our producer puts your book up there. To go right to Amazon and buy The Story of a Dreamer. $15 paperback. It's 15 bucks. It cost me. I didn't get a discount. I had to pay the whole $15. So,
well, you are a great supporter. You know, I always support what you're doing. Also,
hey, I'm just making sure I'm hustling for you, hustling here for you. So
that's good.
Before we get all of this, I'm learning to have I'm used to being by myself, so I'm going to let my co-host and who also is an attorney, Mr. Dow. I'm gonna hand it off to him.
Okay.
How you doing, Mr. Miller?
Good. How
I'm
are you
doing
doing?
Well. Oh, you got 2 Millers. You mean that Mr. Miller?
Yeah, that Mr. Miller. That Mr. Miller. Because I would call you. I could say Attorney Miller, but you also are in the ministry and all. So you wear a lot of different hats. Professor Miller. So I could pick one. Which one would you prefer?
You know, attorney would be fine.
Attorney. Well, that's good.
How about what you would? Would you prefer attorney?
Oh yeah, you could call me attorney because unlike me and you know what we had to go through get that not only that JD but also that ESQ at the end, right?
Y'all just took a test.
No, that is so true. And that's one reason why you see I've do several things, but it take each one of those things to make it.
That's right.
Not been easy.
I know. I've shared one journey with you, and I know that journey was very hard and had to sacrifice a lot, And so it was funny. I'll tell you somewhat of a funny story because this was when I had just somewhat graduated out of law school, and I had met this young lady, and she had talked with her friend, and she was like, "Yeah, he's an attorney," and she was like, "Well, ask him, is he an ESQ?" So she came back to me and was like, "Are you an ESQ?" I'm like, "An ESQ? Like what are you talking? Am I an Esquire? Like have I actually passed the bar and can practice law?" She said, yeah. So that was always a funny story because she didn't know what it was. Folks don't know what it is, but for the folks that are in the field, we know what it is, and we knew what it took to what we had to take to get it. So I tell you.
Yeah.
So I also read your bio as well, and it's very interesting, very extensive. And one of the things, tell me about John Ruffin, Judge John Ruffin, as I should say. You guys taught together?
Yeah, at Morehouse College. He's just was a brilliant, and not only brilliant but down to earth. And his heart was in trying to help young people.
Mm-hmm.
We were at Morehouse and we would talk about reaching young people and trying to give them, figure out how can you give the best of what we have and pour it into them, because at Morehouse College, I enjoyed teaching there. I love teaching there because the students were like sponges. They wanted more. All the information or knowledge or wisdom you could share, they were not leaving class early. They were trying to get more. And you know, to a professor, that showed so much appreciation.
Oh, yeah.
And, you know, I taught there until my father took sick in Macon, Georgia. And I needed to be there to, you know, to help care for him.
Yeah, yeah. Because and like we said, you wear many hats, and that's your hat as a professor, and you more or less giving back to the I guess some younger generation and trying to teaching them and educating them as well. So you seem like you got a lot out of that piece of it.
Yeah, you know, I really do. Trying to make a difference for young people, because you and I, we know how hard it was for us. We had to be blessed in a lot of ways because we had defeat trying to knock on our doors many times. But
that's right.
God just kept us afloat. And I tell I tell young people and even older people, sometimes I don't know how God did it, but he got me through. Because there were some times I did not see a way forward.
Wow.
Trying to get money for, you know how those deadlines were in college.
Oh, yeah.
Trying to come, but somehow we made it through.
That's right. You know, that was one of the first things of many. But my mom, when she dropped me off at college, she was like, look, they're going to be out there giving you those credit, offering them credit cards. Do not take them. And if you do, get the limit. So I only had, of course, I had a $500 limit, and I went and got me some nice clothes and everything. You know, it's the first time I had a credit card, but it was only a $500 limit. So I didn't come out with too much debt when I left college. So I feel you on that, and definitely just the debt and the burden that you have with just even going to college with your financial aid and all of that, right. Being a struggling student and just trying to hold it all together when you graduate, you know. So,
and Attorney Miller, and you also teach about race relations. You say you're a professor about race relations. How do you feel race relations is today compared to where maybe 40 years ago?
I think 40 years ago, in my opinion,
I'm only going back to the 70s. All right.
I understand we had division, we had racism, but to me, it was like a balloon that you were just putting air in, but it was not near bursting. And I feel like over the years, even coming up to now, and I would talk about it in articles 3-4 years ago, that we were like a overblown balloon about to burst. And we were going to see, you know, because we were putting too much hate. There's too much hate there, you know, just based on race alone. And, you know, I try to always talk positive, encourage good race relations, but try to be honest at the same time. Sometimes people may hear me talk about trying to improve the environment of the Black community a lot, especially for young people. And they may say, well, you're putting so much emphasis on Black issues, but if I was a doctor in an emergency room, I would treat the most serious injuries first. And in America, the Black community suffers the most serious injury.
What would be that energy? What would be that energy right now? What would you say right now? This probably going to lead into our main discussion. What do you think that one thing is right now? I mean, if you say race relations within ourselves, if we were in an ER, what would that be right now?
Injustice.
Injustice, like
the injustice given in the judicial system, shown by the disparity in the blacks in prison compared to the percentage of whites in prison. You know, justice not only need to be fair, it needs to look fair. And wherever you find inequality, you find division, because no one likes to be treated unfairly. And I think we look at the criminal justice system, there are too many disparities. We know that we look at the things, we consider even all the blacks being murdered by police. And we see even the incident at the Capitol, taking over the Capitol, bursting into the doors. And we look and we say, well, not many people have gone, I don't know if anybody's gone to prison yet over either, except for the George Floyd sentence. But then you think of the hundreds of thousands of black men in prison for much less.
Right.
with much less evidence.
Right.
It doesn't look right.
And then one of the things by you being, I have friends and family in the state of Georgia, so I'm always paying attention to the politics. How is the new voting bill going to affect the voters in the state of Georgia?
Well, and it's not only Georgia, but around the country. But, Georgia trying to do things like make it very inconvenient to test a person's tolerance of standing up in the hot weather and stuff, of not being able to get simple things like somebody to bring water.
Right. I saw that. I see commercials now about, one side is saying they can give you water, the other side said they can't give you water. Today, in Ohio, we got elections coming up, so there's always going to be some kind of election. So I was just getting your intake on the things like that.
And we look at it and we say, now, they talk about, and I'm just trying to be honest. I'm looking at it, trying to be honest. But we talk about trying to take away the black vote and whether black people are cheating. We just recently got the right to vote. It hasn't been that long ago.
Correct, because I remember
segregation in the 60s.
Yeah, because I remember when I first ran for office, we only had one day to vote here in Ohio. It was just one day. It wasn't an early voting. You had one day. Now you can vote. You can vote 30 days prior. My great grandfather down in Hawser, Alabama, not too far from you, he couldn't vote when he was my age. He wasn't voting. He was born 1932. He wasn't voting down there. Even if he wanted to go vote, he couldn't go vote. Now we can vote in our state 30 days prior to the election. So,
when you talk about what's wrong, that was wrong all those years, hundreds of years of not being able to vote or be able to have any representation. And now you're talking about lately, we look over since the 60s, it hasn't been that long ago that that we got some more rights towards voting, and you're trying to take those away. Right. We know it's not right. And you're going to have division. You're going to have anger. It's easy. When people are not treated fairly, if you treat two people doing the same thing and you give reward one, but talk harshly to the other, they are probably going to end up, they could have been friends, eventually turn to enemies.
Yeah. Well, when we talk about the past and we talk about now, what is your thoughts? And I'm interested to hear what you have to say. What is your thoughts on the Black community now and what the movement looked like in the 1960s compared to now? Like, to me, it seems as if in the 60s, it was us against everybody. So there was some type of connection, bond, between folks that were fighting that good fight. And now you have some ones that possibly aren't falling in line with that because they have received some type of success position for whatever reason now, and folks that look like you and me might be on the other side of some of the issues that we might think that all of us should be on per se. You know what I mean? So I was curious of what your thoughts were.
Yeah. You know, I feel like before, you know, the civil rights movement and things that happened in the 60s, I think that Black America didn't have to worry so much about acceptance in their own communities, because in the Black communities, everybody just got along. But I think through integration, all of a sudden, you know, Blacks going to school, having friends in different communities, playing on football teams and having to meet different places. There was a thing about wanting to be accepted that never existed. And the price that people pay to be accepted sometimes mean looking down on people who have helped you along the way, or forgetting about people that come from where you were. And you just hit on it also. So many people get something and that's it. They will turn their heads, turn their backs on other people that have suffered what they suffered.
That's right. Uh-huh. Yeah. So now, before we get to our issue, I just want to touch on one thing. You have the unique, compared to a lot of folks, unique experience to be connected to our past president, Barack Obama.
Yes.
From my understanding. Could you tell me about that experience before we jump into the issue?
It was a great experience. During his first inauguration, I was invited to come up to Washington, D.C. and speak as part of the inauguration festivities. And it was wonderful. I had a great time. I made a speech on pretty much a cure for what hurts in Black America. Some of the things I thought would help. But it was a wonderful experience. I was so proud of President Obama because the odds were all against him.
Yes.
And he managed to still somehow succeed. That's right. Yeah. I mean, right. Yeah, I'm so proud of him. His family, Michelle, they are just, you know, sometimes I think about, because you know how hard it is, even when you're doing good and trying to help people. It's awfully hard.
Yeah, that's what they said. The first day in office, our goal is to have you be a one-term president. Yeah, that was their goal. That was the leader McConnell and the rest of his crew. One term, and he had 2 terms. Yeah, so
you know, there are those that practice division, those in power, because they would rather not have people unified. Because it's easy if you got a medium-sized army and you're looking at a very large army. If you can divide that very large army, it may very well be your medium-sized army could be either one of them separately. So to divide them is your agenda. And I do feel that many times racial division is manufactured, it's orchestrated, and dividing people.
No question. That's how it was. That's how it was back on the plantation. I mean, that's how you had to get things divided, you know, because everybody you divided, you always fight against each other. So, yeah, that was one of the ways. That's how it is done in politics now. You know, like you're down in Georgia, we're up here in Ohio. I think they're the same state. I mean, you know, we have a couple core cities, and then we got rural Ohio, looks like rural Georgia. You know, we have urban Cleveland, urban Columbus. You got urban Atlanta, Macon, Savannah, and the rest of it is just in Ohio. You got better weather, though.
Right weather. Now we do.
Yeah, right now you do. Yeah, but So,
but you're right. That division has hurt. And that's for all the games that have been played against Black America. The stress, when you think of coming in stolen and made slaves and living in a climate you've never had to live in, and you're being beaten and you're being made to work nonstop, you're being locked and you can't speak the language, you're forbidden from learning how to read or anything. You're given the worst foods, the worst part of the pig you're given.
And now the children, now you're selling it in all the grocery stores. Making money off of it. Yeah.
But it's pretty amazing that we didn't die out from stress or struggle.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And here we are still here. Sometimes I hear people talk about the crime. I know that we have crime, and I know that we have some problems there, but it's hard for me to judge our young people until they have a fair playing field. It's hard for me to judge our people unless we have had an opportunity to have a fair and even playing field. It's hard for me to criticize because we want to make our communities better, and we've always fought to make them better. But I just wonder if we had an even playing field, what would our communities be like?
Would self-esteem be part of that? One of the reasons about your journey when it comes down to the N-word and how we get into that, how does that, take me back to where you started when it comes down to, the definition, like how did this all start? The N-word. When you hear that, you hear people talk about origin or history, but when people use it, they're not talking about origin or history. And the N-word used in America, to me, is kind of like a Frankenstein that slave masters. You ever seen Face App where a person you can take your picture and they mix it with another face of somebody famous?
Yeah.
It's like, it's kind of like what happened. Like they took something that was true and mixed it with something that was all bad. And it wasn't a person. The N-word wasn't a person, it was a thing. Almost like a Frankenstein. And so it was meant to, in my opinion, to identify us the same way the Paris Treaty that we entered into after the Revolutionary War identified the slave as property. Therefore, it was law that property could never be equal to a human being. So that it's almost an inheritance given to everybody considered a human being, white America, of superiority over property. But it's very cruel. The N-word, how I came up in my fight with it is that my niece had gotten some Funky Wagner's desk dictionaries for Christmas, and they called me one day. She and my sister, and she was upset. She had heard it in the wrong way and looked it up in the dictionary, and basically what it said was, any dark-skinned or colored person, obscene, profane, see Negro. That's all it had. And what I realized there was, I said, wait a minute now. Going by that, supposedly definition, that pointed to a Black child or a Black baby also, and that's not right. Mm. And the definition used to be talking about anybody, a low down person.
Like an ignorant person, I thought.
An ignorant person, that's what when did they take that? Is that in Webster's? When did they take NIGGA. No, I'm sorry, I'm going rapping. When did they take that out out of Webster's when it being an ignorant person? So how is it defined in Webster, or which dictionary are you trying to get it out of?
Well, I'm gonna tell you what. I did during that time. I'm doing a lot of studies. I don't have a lot of the notes with me in front of me right now, but I will tell you what I found. The word used to refer to character, like good, bad, mean, low down, and they switched it to refer to race, a specific race. So to me, it switched from a definition identifying character, defining character, to a race, and made it specific that it could be no other race,
but black
us.
folk, right? So how do you petition? How do you petition all these different dictionaries to have that word removed, or get the actual, or change the meaning of it?
Well, what happened was I spoke to so many on phone and talked to them, and I must say I did not have a bad conversation with anybody. But I sent a letter, and I was serious, a demand letter with my argument, and gave a deadline before I would file an action, because, I consider that defamation against children, because nowhere in the world you can say that definition as it was could apply to a black baby or black child. And I knew that black parents would, if they knew that, would be very upset. Most people didn't know that change. It changed somewhere around 1990. And so before the deadline, shortly before the deadline, Funk and Wagner's responded, and the Vice President, Leon Brown, was saying that they would take it out of all forthcoming printing forever. And was saying pretty much that my niece should know that she's very proud of me. And but they spoke with heart, and you could go through with legal battles and stuff like that. Even when you're in the wrong, you can still go to court and try to beat somebody with different strategies. But
how do you feel? I'm sorry.
But Funk and Wagner's had heart, and I feel like sometimes when you show people the wrong in something that they did not see, some people will try to make it right. And, so Funk and Wagner, when they put that in writing, I knew that acknowledgement of the wrong by an expert of words, how can any other dictionary leave it as it was? And it, like a domino effect, you saw the definition taken out and changed. Well, with Funk and Wagner's, it wasn't just, it was just taken out, no change, nothing. And so I felt that was good, a good thing.
So some like Funk and Wagner took the word out completely, and that was a good like a big accomplishment. But other dictionaries changed the definition.
Well, I noticed a domino effect where even though Funk and Wagner's put it in writing, but that was the evidence that if other dictionaries didn't make a change, the evidence of slander, intentional libel, defamation against children was clear. And I felt they had no choice but to do something.
So what did you sent them a correspondence, or how did you reach out to them? Was it in writing? Did you do a phone call? In writing. So you being the lawyer that you are, being the lawyer that you are, you kind of, I can already foresee how you crafted that letter just based off of what you just said about the defamation, the slander, and all of those. So you kind of loaded that letter up, I'm sure, huh?
And I still have a copy of all my documents. I got them in a safe place. But during that time, I was a young attorney, and I was, I had a lot of heart. We learn even more over the years when we get wisdom.
That's right.
And honestly, God was just with me to say, because it's like I planted a seed that's really just being bearing the fruit now, because that was 27 years ago. Here it is now. If you look and you see now, all over the world, you see, and within the last 2 weeks, articles on that and what it means. And it's pretty amazing to me. Sometimes I think about that, and sometimes I think that we have a different generation who sees things somewhat differently. And I know from being a professor, college professor, I see the pride on my students' face when they know I say, I'll fight for you. Nobody's going to disrespect you. I don't care. Nobody's going to put you down. When you get your degree, you walk and you expect the best. You worked hard for it, because we know how we, over the years, we've heard that old saying, you got to work twice as hard, be twice as smart. I don't want anything to take away from the self-esteem and the confidence of our Black youth. I don't want any, because it's hard enough.
So what do you say to the folks that say, hey, it's a word of endearment, young folks say it. What do you say to those folks? And coupled with the fact that some people will say there's a difference between nigger and nigga.
Yeah, and I've heard that, no matter how you say it, people still know what you're talking about. And when people, we say, well, we took this word and we try to take the sting out from
That's
what
right.
When racists use it. Well, it didn't change nothing, because it's almost like a person spitting on you. You didn't make them stop spitting. You just conditioned yourself to pretend that it was cool rain. But the person spitting is still spit. And my thing is, don't pretend.
Don't pee on me and say it's raining outside.
Pretend.
You know what I'm saying? Right.
You see what I'm saying? Yeah, and I'm saying that don't let nobody pee on you.
Yeah.
And then try to tell you it's rain, there's something good.
Yeah.
They got to make an adjustment.
Yeah, but
because
the word now, I mean, these rappers are using it in their music,
pop culture.
Yeah, it's embedded in the culture, and so how do you deal with that? I mean, because Tupac, he said, and he said it in one of his interviews. There's a difference between nigga and nigger. And then even in one of his raps, he took nigga, he said, never ignorant, getting goals accomplished. So he more or less rapped about it and made it a metaphor and tried to make it positive. So I assume you're not buying that either, Attorney Miller, huh?
I'm not buying that, because we saw that in the music where it became glorified and popular at the same time after the civil rights, when white corporations were getting sued to their socks off from discrimination, racism. You had actions in the school system. You had corporate America was losing too much money off of racism. And where you saw discrimination and racist acts, on the scene of the crime usually was the N-word that brought it all in. And it established it to be a hate crime. So trying to make the N-word, to me, not so bad, it's some way or another benefited the people that were losing money the most. And those were the ones that were being sued, for discrimination, racism. I feel that there's too much attached to the N-word. It's almost like somebody getting a picture of a grandmother that you love dearly, and making a mockery of it, and then saying, "Hey, you ought to laugh at the joke too, but it's your grandmother." You know what I'm saying? And so we take a word that's connected to, when I hear the N-word, I think of the father that was lynched for trying to save his little girl from being raped by the master, and both were called N-words. And when I hear the N-word, I think of the aging Black lady who had a baby by the master, and she and the baby were called the N-word. You know, I do not believe it's right to build a playground on top of a cemetery. We have too much invested in the ground, in the earth, to make anything laughable or danceable off something that hurt our people so much. And no matter whatever you did in life, you were still an N-word.
I see why your students keep their attention. Because I'm sitting here like, wow, we can continue talking all day about all these different issues. You're real good at what you believe in. You could tell you're just not doing this for attention. Because I didn't realize when I read the article it was 27 years ago. I thought this was something recent that you worked on. Because I love my 70s shows, and I look at episodes of Sanford and Son. When he went off in there talking about all of them in the courtrooms, and you're watching the Jeffersons and in the 70s, and now today you really don't hear it on TV as much, and so really a pop culture. And then we get upset when the little kids, your little 5-year-old granddaughter and the white kids saying rapping the song, and everybody get bent out of shape. Then that's when it starts becoming an issue. So I really appreciate what you're trying to do, and hopefully we can keep it like that. Because I'm going to go look it up now and see how it. Because I always say it's an ignorant person. People go by the definition,
and that's what it had been. That's what it had been.
So now you don't change it to say right. So
one thing I will say, over all the years that I have fought for, fought for a better world, especially for the Black community, since we suffered so much, and fought for justice. In my fight for justice, I never charged a penny, not even a dime. I believe that you make a difference, and you try to give young people something to inherit that's valuable.
That's the Southernness in you, right? Yes, you're a good man. That's that Southern hospitality down there with Dr. King. You're not charging nobody, so that's real good.
I'm proud of our people.
Oh yeah.
What do you had some words about Quentin Tarantino?
Oh yeah, and I talked about excessive use of the N-word.
And what movie was that? What movie was that?
You
remember which one it was?
Was that the movie with Samuel Jackson? He played the
Pulp Fiction.
Yeah.
No, that's not Pulp Fiction. That was.
It may have. I've done so many articles and interviews.
Right.
I'll be honest with you, sometimes.
That's what Samuel Jackson and I can't even think of the guy who can sing real good and everything.
But I did make a statement, and I made a stand on the excessive use of the N-word, because it means a lot. When I talk to children, you should see the gleam in their eye when they know that somebody cares and about how they are treated and how they are referred to. And sometimes adults doesn't realize that those rocks that are being thrown in the crowds are hitting little children. A lot of little children, they go into integrated schools, little Black kids, they want to be accepted. They want to be treated just like the white student next to them. They don't want to have anything anybody can say that'll put them way down, and then have a teacher, as it used to be, look in a dictionary and say, hey, I guess that's right. That's you.
Exactly.
That was Django.
Yeah.
Django, that's right.
Django Unchained.
That's right. That's right.
Samuel Jackson.
I'm a big fan of Samuel Jackson. It's like I don't dislike the person. I dislike sometimes of the language sometimes, because I'm a believer that, we have a lot of good people. We have a lot of good people. We have a lot of good, even people in the rap industry that have used it. You can always change. We have very talented musicians. I've known people, being a musician myself, in the rap game, who were,
are you a rapper? Wait a minute, hold on a second. Now, you a rapper or you an R&B singer? What do you do?
Well, I'm R&B, but hey,
you R&B, so you know rap.
Hey, young boy born in East LA got no yard in which to play. See, drug pushers or shooting guns outside just ain't no fun. A young girl walking down the street, come to the corner, meets a creep and say, "Hey, baby, do you want to get high?" Where Major Wells just flavorration will let him die. Get rid of dope, get rid of dopes. Pull them together with a rope, get them out of our neighborhoods, because they got no place amongst the good. But yeah, I like rap.
We just get you some beats. We get you some beats and everything. You be ready to go.
Well, but I've known rappers in the studio that had, just unbelievable, great lyrics, great music, but many companies won't let them put that out.
That's right.
They'll tell them what they want, that you either do this type or keep walking, because there's a long line that'll do what we tell them to do. So come back to me with something that, and it's so unfortunate.
Yeah, I know how some of them executive producers and money people. That's how they be sometimes. All about the bottom line, mess up the culture, right? Yeah, water down the culture and everything,
Yeah.
Okay.
But I appreciate all kinds of music. I write.
So tell me about your book. While you talking about writing, tell me more about your book that we have on Amazon. Your latest book you have out.
My latest book is The Story of a Dream about Attorney Roy Miller. And what I do is,
you got the book right there so we can see the cover. You got the book right there?
Okay, I don't have the book. I'm looking at something that I took from the book.
Okay, well, go on.
I'm looking at some lines, I'm gonna tell you the hard thing. The book has been out for about 2 weeks now. Other people have gotten their copies of the book. I don't have a copy. Oh. I'm still waiting for mine. I guess they put the customers first.
Yeah, that $15, that's what you need. So,
but I like to write poetry. Sometimes speeches work, and sometimes like a teacher teaching works. But sometimes trying to reach people, because especially with young people, if it doesn't reach the heart, it really doesn't matter. If you're trying to get a message to them, and sometimes through music, but in this book, I'm doing it with poetry, and trying to see how people feel, young people feel, older people feel, the circumstance. And if it's okay, I'll read one poem.
Go ahead. Please do. And and maybe, we have an excellent producer, and I'm sure he'll be able to put your book cover on the screen sometime throughout the show. But please read some of your poetry.
Thank you. We cannot move the mountain, said the old man to the boy. There is too much to get by. We cannot reach joy. Old feuds build up sand by sand. We cannot move the mountain. Then the boy said, sir, yes, we can. We can forgive the past, one grain at a time. We can begin to love. The Lord will give us time. God made the mountains. He made you and me. And he who made the mountains can move a mountain. You will see. Don't be a prisoner to what you can change. God will move the mountain, and love will replace the pain.
Good job.
And, so many times you're trying to reach the heart is what I feel we need to do to reach young people and get them to understand what we're saying. Our communication is important. You can tell some people some things and they don't really get it, but we're trying to figure out what's hurting somebody and trying to express to other people why it hurts. You know, it's almost, I guess, similar to a husband coming home and seeing his wife teary-eyed every evening, but can't figure out why. And what she tell him, the reasons why, it doesn't make a lot of sense to him as to why she's crying, but still she's crying every night. You know, so trying to reach the heart of people and communicate with people is so important. And I do it through poetry. In this book, The Story of a Dreamer, you know, I feel like, can I read one or more? If I,
absolutely.
Go ahead, Mr. Miller. Go ahead, Attorney
one
Miller.
more. The thoughts of a slave. You do not know me, therefore you know not whom you seek to destroy. You know not the type seed in which God planted, nor do you know of the type fruit that will bear at harvest. You can only bear witness to growth and circumstances of survival. You know not whom you mistreat, nor whom you enslaved. You know not the torment of my heart, nor the love of my forgiveness. You cannot measure the distance in which God has demanded that I walk, nor can you train the words in which I dance. The littered trail of broken hearts and broken dreams. Planters of seeds never lived to see the harvest. Destiny calls. A place called peace. It's not so far away. You do not know me. Therefore, you know not whom you seek to destroy. And I think that that is a feeling. And I was trying, and when I wrote that, I was thinking of what it must have felt like to be a slave, or even coming all the way through segregation and treated so bad. You know, lynched, mistreated.
It seems like with your poetry, like you are kind of like, it comes out in your writing, your spiritual foundation with you being in the ministry, the wanting, the need to educate the masses. It seems like you're not only doing your poetry, but you're trying to educate at the same time. It almost seems like all that is coming out of you, pouring out of you.
You know, and I, you know, I pray that God allows me to make a difference. And I just use, I guess, the chemistry of what he's given me to try to make it work, because so many of our young people are dying. They're dying so young, and so many are lost. And it hurts me to see our young people die. And I want to see every child of every race have a chance. But when I see so many Blacks dying, mostly, you know, when I read the paper and in the news, you know, I feel that we have to do something. And if nothing else to give, we can give our young people confidence. We can try to build their self-esteem. We got to let them know that they are great because God made them great. You know, they were made for greatness. Don't let anybody discourage them or make them accept glass ceilings. You know, I want to see our young people realize the dreams that we dreamed. You know, the thing that we dreamed up when we were, the happiness, the joy, the freedom.
I'm still dreaming. I'm still dreaming.
Yeah. You know, because, you know, we We deserve to be happy like anybody else.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it has truly been a pleasure, Attorney Miller. It has truly been a pleasure.
It's been a pleasure on this end too. I really appreciate you for inviting me.
You know, Mr. Miller, I really appreciate the fact that you responded on Twitter and reaching out. I really enjoy listening to you. I'm going to make sure that I'll figure out a way to get the book signed one day because I have friends down in Macon, so I'm going to be coming through there and keep up the good work. And it was really nice. It was really nice listening to you. Really nice listening to you. Like Mr. Dowell has said, you can tell in your writing it's about who you are. You did not just write that just to put a book out. You could tell it's in your soul, and you did a real good job.
Thank you, and many blessings to you guys, and may God bless and protect you always.
Thank you, sir. You too.
All right. Okay. Talk to you later.
Talk to you too, sir. Thank you.
All right. Well, hey, thank you all for tuning in and watching us for another edition of Hustle and Justice. I'm your host, TJ Dow.
And I'm Eugene Miller.
Dow, and that's Eugene Miller. All
right. Till next time. Peace.